Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kingdom Moving. God is moving over here. He is moving. I hope you're listening. Yes. God is kind, but not soft. You should know that already, right? If you've been listening, you come here, you get the word. You get the real word. God talking. He said he kind, right? Y'all know he all sweet and everything, yes. But he not soft. Get it right. Get it right. Listen up. Those people are on a dark spiral downward. But if you think that leaves you on a high ground where you can point your finger at others, think again. Every time you criticize someone, you condemn yourself. It takes one to know one. Yeah. Judgmental criticism of others is a well-known way of escaping detection in your own crimes and misdemeanors. But our God isn't so easily diverted. Do you hear the power? Listen, ain't got time. He sees right through all such smoke screens and holds you to what you've done. You didn't think, did you? That's just by pointing your finger at others, you would distract God from seeing all your misdoings and from coming down on you hard. You didn't think that, did you? Or did you think that because he's such a nice God, he is, he'll let you off the hook? You better think this one through. You better think it through. From the beginning, God is kind, but not soft. In the kindness, he takes us firmly by the hand and leads us. He leads us into a radical life change. You're not getting by with anything. Every refusal, don't refuse God. And avoidance of God adds fuel to the fire. The day is coming when it's going to blaze hot and high. God's fury and righteousness judgment. His righteous judgment is coming. Make no mistake. In the end, you get what's coming to you. Real life. For those who work on God's side, but to those who insist on getting their own way and take the path of least resistance fire, nothing but fire. Nothing but fire is waiting for you. What you doing? What you doing? If you go against the grain, you get splinters regardless of which neighborhood you're from. What your parents taught you, what schools you attended. But if you embrace the way God does things, there are wonderful payoffs, again, without regard to where you are from and how you were brought up. Being a Jew, a believer, won't give you an automatic stamp of approval. No. God pays no attention to what others say or what others think about you. He makes up his own mind. If you sin without knowing what you're doing, God takes that into account. But if you sin knowing full well what you're doing, that's a different story entirely. Merely hearing God's law is a waste of your time if you don't do what he commands you. Doing, not hearing, is what makes the difference with God. When outsiders who have never heard of God's law follow it more or less by instinct, they confirm the truth by their obedience. They show that God's law is not something a lie imposed on us without putting woven into the very fabric of our creation. There is something deep within them that echoes God's yes and no, right and wrong. Their response to God's yes and no will become public knowledge on the day God makes his final decision. About every man and woman, the message from God that I proclaim through Jesus Christ takes into account all these differences. Religion can't save you. Religion cannot save you. You hear God? If you're brought up Jewish, don't assume that you can lean back. And don't be leaning back, lean back, lean back. No. Don't be leaning back in your arms of your religion. Smug because you're an insider to God's revelation, a connoisseur of the best things of God, informed on the latest doctrines. I have a special word of caution for you who are sure that you have it all together yourselves. And because you know God's revealed words inside and out, feel qualified to guide others through their blind alleys and dark nights and confused emotions to God. While you are guiding others, who is going to guide you? Who? I'm quite serious. While preaching, don't steal. Are you going to rob people blind? Who would suspect you? Who? They sitting there listening to you. Why would they suspect you? The same with adultery. The same with idolatry. You can't get by with almost anything if you front it with eloquence. Talk about God and his laws. The line from scripture. It's because of you, Jews, the ones that know him, that the outsiders frown on God. You make them frown on God with your disgusting ways because you think you know him. Shows it's an old problem that isn't going anywhere. Circumcisions and surgical rituals that marks you as a Jew is great if you live in accordance with God's law. But if you don't, it's worse than not being circumcised. The reverse is also true. The uncircumcised who keeps God's ways are as good as the circumcised. In fact, better. Because even though they didn't know, they still followed his yes and his no. And you knew better. Better to keep God's law uncircumcised than break it circumcised. Don't you see? It's not the cut of the knife that makes a Jew. You become a Jew by who you are. It's the mark of God on your heart, not of a knife on your skin that makes a Jew. And recognition comes from God, not legalistic critics. God speaks over here. You hear him talking. Religion can't save you. It will not save you. You know God and you're not living by his ways. He don't see you. God is kind, but he is not soft. Get it right. Get it right. I keep telling you, if you're not right, settle up. Settle up. God's speaking over here. Settle up in your ways, in your mind, and in your heart. I told you, Son of Man coming and you ain't even gonna know when. You better get right. You better get right. And all y'all religious folks, you will not be saved. You will not be saved. It's all adding up. So, be good. God still love you. He kind. He warning you. Get right. Now subscribe. God talking over here. And he wants you to listen, children. Listen, children. Don't that sound good? God got all the power. You better know it.